Hi, I'm John F. Allen.
And I'm R.J. Sullivan.
And we're the Two Towers.
Greetings and welcome to the Two Towers Talk Show. I'm your host, John F. Allen, Tower 1.
I'm R.J. Sullivan, Tower 2.
Today's episode is going to serve as a tribute and memoriam to actor Chadwick Boseman, who passed away on Friday, August 28th of 2020 after a 4-year-long battle with colon cancer. You may know Boseman as portraying the character of T'Challa, aka Black Panther, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film, as well as others, where he played Jackie Robinson in 42, James Brown in Get On Up, and Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. He also recently starred in The Five Bloods, which was Spike Lee joint contribution, another film, 21 Bridges, and a final film, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which will be released posthumously on Netflix. So thank you for joining us today for this episode. This is very sad news. It has hit not just nerds, not just fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Americans, but this has hit the world very hard. We're already, as a global community, dealing with a whole lot of things, this pandemic and other social injustices and things going on within our personal lives, added on to the things that are affecting the world on a global scale. But this bit of sad news has really been a bummer for a lot of Boseman's fans of the MCU, but then just people in general, moviegoers, and just people in general having empathy for Boseman, who has been praised by all who knew him as a very personable, a very courageous, and a very loving and supportive person, just a good person all around. And it's really sad that we lost someone so young. He was only 43 years old, and he had contributed a lot to cinema in his time, and we definitely are feeling that loss. How about you, RJ?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what gets me is there would be no good time for this to happen. This is just a terrible tragedy all around. But the fact that it happened this particular week, as bad as things have been, as rough as things have been for everybody, the Black community particularly, the fact that this came in at the end of this particular week, it hit me hard. I'm not gonna lie. We're all feeling pain. I can only imagine what the Black community is going through all this crazy stuff. But then for this to come in at the top of it, I literally had just finished watching a video called "The Week of Hell" or something along those lines when I got the news, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it for a very long time. I just stared at my Facebook as the posts were going up, and I couldn't find any words for a really long time. It seemed so surreal to be happening, and I think where my brain keeps going with it is the potential of him as an actor, what he had already accomplished in a fairly short time, and he was at a point where he could do whatever he wanted, and he could have done so much for so many years. And just the fact that I personally was looking forward not only to the Black Panther sequels, but just, we just did the reveal on The Five Bloods I think it posted fairly recently. I know we recorded it a little bit back, but he was just nothing but potential, nothing but talent that was going to go on and was going to take us on a journey. And just the fact that it's come to a stop so soon is still tough for me to really conceive of throughout this weekend. I'm still kind of figuring it all out. So that's kind of where I'm starting with this.
Absolutely. Chadwick Boseman's death, it comes as a shock to a lot of people. It also, as I've mentioned, as we both mentioned here before, is very much hard hitting to people. I'd like to give a little bit of his background. He was born and raised in Anderson, South Carolina. His parents, Carolyn and Leroy, his mother worked as a nurse. His father worked in a textile factory and managed an upholstery business. He graduated from T.L. Hanna High School in 1995. And in his junior year, he wrote his first play, which was called Crossroads, and staged it at school after a classmate had been shot and killed. Boseman attended college at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and graduated in 2000 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in directing. And one of his teachers happened to be Felicia Rashad, who played Claire Huxtable in The Cosby Show. She was his mentor, and she helped raise funds with a friend of hers, someone you may have heard of before. His name is Denzel Washington. So that Boseman and his classmates could attend the Oxford Midsummer program of the British American Drama Academy in London, and they accepted. And so this helped him on his career, on his way. He wanted to write and direct, and initially began studying acting to learn how to relate to actors, but eventually the acting bug grew from there. And when he returned from London, he graduated from New York City's Digital Film Academy and lived in Brooklyn at the start of his career. He worked as a drama instructor in Schomburg Junior Scholars Program, housed at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture in Harlem, New York. And in 2008, he moved to Los Angeles to pursue his acting career full time. Now, the thing about Chadwick Boseman's career is that he actually started out in television in 2003 in an episode of a popular cop show. It's like a cop and paramedic show called Third Watch. And then that same year, he portrayed character Reggie Montgomery on daytime soap opera All My Children. He went on from there and worked on some episodes of Law and Order, CSI New York, ER, and he continued to write plays and, just kept himself busy. That's one of the things that is most poignant about his death, is that many of the films, basically all of the films that I had mentioned previously that he worked on while he was battling cancer. So when you saw him in The Black Panther, The Five Bloods, 21 Bridges, 42, all of those films he was working on, he was sick at the time. He was battling for his life. But you would never have known it, because although he portrayed a warrior in T'Challa, aka Black Panther, he was a true warrior in spirit in real life, because most people would not have been able to have sustained that. And I have to retract one statement that I made. He was diagnosed um, in, let's see, believe that it
4 years
was
ago is what I heard.
2016. Yes. So he was not sick while he was filming 42, but when he was filming the Black Panther role in Captain America Civil War, and 2 years later in the Black Panther film, and then the other films such as Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and then the 21 Bridges film, and then Da 5 Bloods, the Spike Lee joint, he was battling cancer throughout the filming of those movies. And that just is a testament to him, not only as an actor who's dedicated to his craft, but as a human, because that shows a lot of grit, a lot of courage, and a lot of warrior spirit to be able to continue working in that capacity while being ill.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions. I think a lot of people do. I guess as someone who has a spouse with cancer, I understand, for one thing, that this is just my speculation. So I'm just talking theoretically, but I do have some experience with this. 4 years ago, a diagnosis of cancer would not have necessarily been a death sentence. And I have to think that that was the thinking going into the rest of this, because, these were some long-term projects that he must have understood he was taking on the commitment he was taking. And I have to think that there's no way he could have been thinking that he would be gone as soon as he was. Stage 3 cancer, with the treatments that they have now, is survivable. Now, I mean, you have odds, and there's lots of specific things that we don't know, and we may never know. I mean, the world got this sprung on us Friday. So there's a lot of details out there. So this is just me talking, but the idea of taking on this kind of a commitment with that going on in the background tells me, I think he really thought he was going to beat it, or he had a really decent shot of beating it. And I think that the work may have been what drove him to stay as healthy as long as he did. And I'd like to know, were there good days? Were there bad days? Was there a point where they knew it was inevitable that that the end was near? And we don't have the answers to any of those questions, but I have to think 4 years ago, that taking on this inspiring role, it's very clear he knew how inspiring it was going to be to so many people. That had to have driven him as well to stay healthy, to stay strong. It's really quite something to think that he's playing this superhero warrior, and then he's got this battle he's actually doing, and except for whoever he shared that with personally. I mean, the public didn't know that. We all know about celebrities who share what they're going through, and clearly this was a very private thing for him, because as far as I know, most of us knew nothing about it. So I have questions about that as well, but I have to think that this commitment to this role was probably something where he felt like, I'm gonna fight it, I'm gonna beat it, and I'm gonna be here to play this role for a long time. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but I think that I think that may be something that was keeping him going through the tough days and the tough weeks.
Most definitely. And just by nature of what you've read about Chadwick Boseman as an actor, celebrity, he kept a lot of his personal life very private, and for good reason. Hollywood can, uh, pick you up, chew you up, spit you out, and destroy your relationships with significant others, family, friends. It's a very um, unforgiving industry. And I've noticed in celebrities, since we mentioned Denzel Washington, I'll use him as an example. He has kept a lot, basically all of his personal life out of the paparazzi. He goes to his little functions that he needs to go to. He makes his little statements, and he doesn't live in Hollywood. He lives somewhere else. He keeps his personal life personal and private, and that's what sustained him with his decades long marriage and his wonderful family. And I think that perhaps Chadwick was taking a page out of his book. Just to give you a little bit of an example of that, Boseman began dating a singer named Taylor Simone Ledward in 2015. They were reportedly engaged by October of 2019 and then later married in secret, as revealed by Boseman's family in a statement where his death was announced. So, with that being said, you have to look back that they began dating before his diagnosis. They got married after his diagnosis. They had been married for, basically they had been engaged for less than a year and married even less time. So now you've got Taylor, who is a widow, and what kind of effect this is going to have on his family. I mean, from the outside looking in, as fans of Chadwick Boseman and his work, just think of his family. Just think of his wife, who had such a short time with him, but I'm sure that they probably made the best and the most out of the time that they had. And he kept his life, private for a reason. And I really commend him on that. And then battling this devastating disease and then continuing on to work and to, portray the characters that we've come to love. It's an amazing testament to someone who has been described by every person who's been on set with him as an amazing individual. And we lost not only an amazing individual in Chadwick Boseman and a phenomenal actor, but we also lost an icon who didn't necessarily start out as being an icon, but when he was announced to have accepted the role of T'Challa, aka the Black Panther, it was something that resonated with fans of the character in a way that goes beyond just a simple casting for a role in a movie. This was something that had been so widely and largely anticipated that it carried its own weight. It carried its own set of anticipation. You had the first Black superhero to be created there at Marvel, and for that character who's been around since the 60s to finally see the light of day in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and to go on to make a feature film about this character, it says a lot. It says that there was faith in him as an actor to be able to pull off this role, and it also gave a community something to see themselves in. Being a black man, you don't see a lot of positive images that in the media. You know, it seems as though every other film in Hollywood either has the black lead portraying a pimp, pusher, drug dealer, you know, some type of criminal figure, some type of unfortunate person who's down on their luck, or a slave or something along those lines. But to actually see someone who is portraying something so positive, so larger than life, and someone who's regal, who's a king, who's someone who, you know, has an entire nation that he leads, but then is also a superhero with abilities and intellect and an IQ, you know, that's genius level, and all of these things. It went on to inspire the black community in a way that it had not been inspired in forever, if any other time, as it had been with this film. And just with this film in and of itself, this film had a box office receipt of $1.3 billion.
It was one of the quickest to that, if at the time, wasn't it?
Right, it was. It was one of the quickest to reach that milestone, and it did so with a February release, which is very odd because most times in the past, before this film, if you scheduled a film to debut in February, that's the place where you sent films to die. And statistically speaking, this particular film beat all of the odds, and it was something that, you know, not only amazed a community within the, and I speak of the black community, but it amazed the entire world. It set records. It basically showed something different than any of the other Marvel Cinematic Universe films had. And it did so in a way that was dignified. And it was something that brought notoriety, not just to Chadwick Boseman as an actor, but also to director Ryan Coogler, who went on to be tapped for the sequel, which, you know, now as a result of this Chadwick Boseman's tragic passing is obviously up in the air and something that will be discussed at a later time. But you have a ensemble cast of black actors who portrayed these roles, and no one missed a beat in this film. No one was miscast in this film. And they all went on to bigger, better projects above and beyond this film. And this was like a stepping stone. Some were veteran actors who had, you know, made their mark long ago, but seeing them in this film was very inspiring nonetheless. And it also gave the character of Black Panther a larger spotlight on a global scale. I mean, nerds around the world had heard of Black Panther. Like I say, he's been around for almost 60 years now as a character, and you're looking at now he's thrust into the mainstream, and he's portrayed so elegantly by Chadwick Boseman, and it's like when you see him in this role, that's who he is. But that's just this role, which is probably his most popular role and will probably be his legacy role. But I own the other films that he was in where he played iconic historical figures such as Jackie Robinson in 42 and James Brown in Get On Up. And I have to tell you that the level of dedication that Chadwick Boseman had as an actor in those roles, and the transformation he made into those historical characters. I mean, when he was in Get On Up as James Brown, you actually believed that that was James Brown. You know, I mean, he personified the characters and did something, you know, wonderful with the ones that he portrayed. And this speaks volumes to him as an actor. And it's sad and it's heartbreaking to think that we've lost someone of this caliber who had, as RJ has said, so much potential and who had given so much to us as fans
in a really short time. Yeah.
Right. It's really, really, really sad. And it's gotten me emotional. You know, it's gotten the whole world emotional. I never met Chadwick Boseman, but I feel like I miss him. Like he was somebody that I knew, and it's heartbreaking and it's sad. And I just want to also mention, I know this is kind of rambling random, but for his role as T'Challa in Black Panther, he won an NAACP Image Award and a Screen Actors Guild Award. So, you know, not only was he a talented actor within these noted films, but he was recognized for his talent. And
sure. There's no, I mean, what I have to say is fairly secondary. Obviously, it didn't touch me the way it did the Black community. However, I do want to say several things about the Black Panther movie. I mean, first of all, what I remember looking back, you and I have been friends for over 10 years now, but I remember your excitement over it before I really got it, before I really understood. You know, it was the Avengers movie Civil War before then was really the first time we actually saw the actor in the role for any period of time, and where it started to click and I started to understand why you were so excited about it. And beyond the character itself, there was the vision of an African nation that was not only a first world country, but secretly advanced beyond most of the world, and what all that entailed, which I think was new to folks who were not deep into the Black Panther mythos and all that entailed before. And I can remember having that kind of unfold to me in real time as the Marvel movies were explaining it. And I think that was a revelation to the general public, those that were not deeply into the storyline. Black Panther to me was a character that would show up on occasion in the Avengers or something, and wasn't something I followed terribly carefully. So a lot of it was new to me, but I'm pretty sure that this spurred an entire science fiction subgenre that has grown substantially since the first movie. And I think watching it in real time, the countdown to the premiere, and then seeing kind of this exaltation of excitement when the movie premiered, and the fact that it exceeded the expectations that everybody was hoping for it. You know, there were shit talkers about it building up. It seems like that just comes with everything now. But I think what I wanted to express here is anybody with a heart, with compassion, understood what this movie meant to the Black community. Those that say otherwise were just either wanted to, either dead inside, or they just wanted to cause problems and pain for whatever reason. But we all understood that this movie was going to be a game changer and should be a game changer. And then it was the game changer everybody was hoping for. And, you know, it could never mean as much to me as it did to you, but it did mean a lot to me as someone who watched that unfold in real time. There was kind of this big sigh of relief that we had crossed the entertainment industry had done a little thing that maybe made life a little better for a few people, gave people more hope overall. You know, it was one of several things going on. I am a bigger Wonder Woman fan, and I still can't say it was really comparable. It really wasn't, but certainly to women, it was probably very comparable. And having these two films come out within a couple years of each other has been great to watch, especially as for someone who does not lack in representation. It's good to see that when it happens, regardless of what the shit talkers say. It's really not that hard, and you should be able to step aside and get outside yourself and say, this doesn't have to be my moment. I can be happy for other people. And most of us were, you know, and with that, and with the green lighting of sequels, I was really quite excited to see what was going to come next. Here at the house, personally, we're doing a complete rewatch of all the Marvel Universe films, and as it happens, we were watching them in order. So, you know, I found for the most part my opinion on them didn't change all that much. The ones that I liked the first time, I probably enjoyed more. The ones I didn't like as much, I probably didn't change my opinion on all that much. But Black Panther was just as enjoyable, you know, a couple years later as it was in the movie theater the first time I saw it. I mean, it held up. It was every bit as exciting, nuanced and complex. It dealt with a lot of challenging issues, and did all of that very, very well. And so the fact is, we just rewatched it here just a couple weeks ago. So when my daughter was just checking her Facebook page Friday night and said the Black Panther actor died, I thought it was one of the older actors, maybe the one that portrays the father or something like that. My brain couldn't go there and think it was Black Panther himself. It just didn't make sense. But I guess what I was trying to say in all that is what crushes me so much is this symbol of optimism at a time when we need it so badly. And now they have to, and it's Disney, they'll figure it out. I don't know what they're going to do, but they have to find some way to rework it and find a way to bring that back in some way. It's just the timing was just so unfortunate at a time when the real world just seems like it's doing everything it can to keep people back and push them down. And yeah, I don't know. Now I'm the one rambling, but I wanted to say that, you know, the optimism was seen by everybody. And we're all feeling it with you, man.
And this concludes part 1 of a 2-part series, a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Join us on Wednesday for part 2 of this series. The Two Towers Talk Show is sponsored in part by OG Nerds, a new social media community dedicated to nerds of a certain age, 40 and over, although all are welcome. Members are encouraged to share articles and links on their favorite nerdy topics such as animation, anime, art, books, writing, comics, manga, movies, music, sports, tech, science, TV, video games, RPGs, and more. Be sure to visit them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
The Two Towers Talk Show is sponsored in part by Showtime Cinema in Mooresville, Indiana. Their friendly staff is always willing to go the extra mile to make your movie-going experience an enjoyable and memorable one. Enjoy the comfort of their new cushioned seating in their spacious auditoriums, and while you're there, be sure to stop by the concession stand and purchase some popcorn where real butter topping is an option. They're located at 300 South Bridge Street in Mooresville, Indiana. We hope to see you at the movies.